Guys, I guess you can call this a briefing of some kind. I myself grew up in a normal school, kind of switched back and forth between two different schools quite often. Met a whole lot of friends, a whole lot of teachers, a whole lot of classes. Um, I had a lot of fun. But I noticed throughout both schools they didn't teach certain things that I think as a grown up or an adult or once you get out of high school that you should probably know. Um, I've got a list. I kind of enjoy this list because there's probably about over 20 things that's very important after you get out of school that were never taught to you during school. Let's see if maybe the school districts can pick up on this message and see if they can put it in their studies for maybe students who'd like to know because you're going to need it. First one you're going to need to know is probably about job applications. You ever had a job? Does school ever teach you about a job? No, they're never going to teach you. With job applications, you also need to keep track of your jobs, of every job you've ever been to that you ever applied for, how long you worked there, when you started, how much you got paid, who your bosses were. Yeah, you need to know all this for your entire life. There are so many places that will ask you, so what was your last job? What experience do you have? I don't know. I didn't write it down. That's basically what everybody does. And with that in mind, you have to have references. People who you've worked with, people you've known, who are not related to you. I'll be honest, I probably can't think of a whole lot of people who I worked with who I still know. I mean, a reference? A lot of you don't even know what that is. That there is somebody who's not related to you, who you've worked with for over a year, usually. You have to know their name, their full name, first and last, phone number, where they live, what their job is currently. I mean, it's so much that it's a burden. It just drives me insane that you have to keep track of this. Next thing you're going to want to know after you get out of school is probably laws. What are the laws of the road? What are the laws of the state? What are the laws of the United States? Yeah, you get to learn the basic laws. You know, I get the right to carry a gun. That's probably the only one that 90% of America remembers. Anyway, I'm going to keep on going. School never really helped me with who I wanted to be. I told them when I grew up I wanted to work for a construction company. You know what they did? They put me in language class. Congratulations. I now know how to make an essay. Am I ever going to use it? No. Ever going to turn it into anybody? No. It's a waste of my time. You've got to be kidding me. You're going to need to know the value of a dollar. Realizing that the economy is currently going up in the market, and the value of the dollar is basically only valued at McDonald's nowadays, and yeah, I think the only thing at McDonald's you can get for a dollar is a plain hamburger, and you'll get change back from your dollar. That's the only thing you can get nowadays. That's just sad. Next thing you're going to want to know is probably anything about a credit card, your bills. You realize that once you get a credit card, you're then going to have bills. You're going to have a job to pay for those bills. Yeah, your parents are probably going to teach you most of this, but it's things that you have to know that school doesn't teach. Politics. I never learned a darn thing about politics. You know what I learned in school? I learned a debate. You know what a debate is? A debate is two people arguing. And the majority of the people look at the argument and see who wins. I mean, if you win, you win. Ah, congratulations. You know how to argue with somebody. You know how I argue? I agree with the other person, say thank you, and walk away. My opinion stays to my own. If they have something better to say, I want to hear it, and I'll walk away. If they want to hear my opinion, I'll be glad to let them know. If not, have a good day. It's real simple. Another thing is stock market. I didn't learn a darn thing about stock market in school. I don't even, matter of fact, I still don't know what it is. I know it's a bunch of businesses. I think that's about it. Alright, now to the little bit of the juicy stuff. I never learned about dating. I never learned about kissing. Never learned about sex. The only thing I learned about sex was you can get an STD if you have sex before you're married, which implied to me that the only way to never get an STD is to get married. Doesn't make sense, does it? School fail. Anyway, never learned about any type of harassment during school. You know that little pamphlet that they give you at the beginning of school, like usually a planner of some kind? Yeah, it has all these school rules in it. Yeah, they're going to give you that and say, read it. That probably tells you anything about harassment that they're never going to tell you. Sexual harassment, racism, I mean, just talking to anybody of any kind that is harassing them. Yeah, I harassed a few people in school. I also got harassed. Um, we were never allowed to have music in school, but yet throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and now 2000 and 2010, the entire world is loving music. People are getting famous off of music, and always have been famous for music. Why did I never learn about Elvis Presley in school? This guy was famous beyond belief. I never learned about him. He was never in the history books. Man, we probably skipped that chapter in like history class. Where was it? Hello? Missing this, man. Alright. Getting down to the bottom line here. I never learned about hygiene in school. You know what I learned? Germs are bad. The only way to get rid of germs is to wash your hands. Dude, I'll tell you right now what hygiene is. Take a shower, scrub every part of you, and make sure it all goes away. If you come out of the shower and you smell something that smells bad, you either need to clean the bathroom or take another shower. I never learned how to cook in school. I went to a cooking class in school, and I think the teacher did all the cooking, and we learned how to set a table. I think that was my cooking class. It was sad and pathetic. I never learned how to raise a child in school. I currently don't have one. Hope to soon have one day. But as I've heard from many adults, you can never be prepared to have a child. I hope someday I can be prepared to have a child, even though school never taught me anything about raising a child. What needs to be done? What do you do? With that in mind, what if your child gets sick? What do you do if you get sick? What do you do if your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, if they get sick? What do you do? What do you do if you get sick? School never taught me this. What do you do if you have a death in the family? Any family crisis? Anything at all where it's an emergency, what do you do? We didn't learn this. Last thing, I never learned the 7 deadly sins. You'd think something that has a title of 7 deadly sins might be noted in school that it's deadly. I mean, wrath, greed, sloth, pride, lust, envy, and gluttony. You have to think of these things. That school didn't teach us any of these things that I just read off. And yet it would have been most important to learn these, get them through my head so I knew and I could be prepared when I was an adult that I could do this. I mean, I didn't know anything about buying a car, buying a house. I didn't know I had to go do things to go buy a car or house. I didn't know anything about rent. People don't tell me these things. You get older and you find out the hard way, and it's terrible. You know what I miss about school? My friends. My friends were there every day, and I had somebody to talk to. All my friends grew up, went to college, different colleges, moved away, and I don't ever get to see them anymore. I even moved away. Anyway, I want the schools to think about it. I want you to think about it. If I missed out on anything that you think that you missed out in school that they never taught, leave me a message. Alright, guys. My name is Raymond. This is how I do things. How do you?